What's up, YouTube? Capital G here, checking out the rest of the Nifty support coming out in Hidden Summoners. Very interesting archetype. We already knew about one of the boss monsters in the archetype, which I talked about a little while ago. That was the big blazing Link 3 monster, which can actually be pretty powerful. It can get to, 3,600 attack if you have a couple of ritual monsters invested into Link summoning it. It'll also be immune to card destruction and battle destruction as well. The rest of this archetype is very interesting, and I wasn't really sure where Konami was going with this, if it was going to be ritual based or link based, and turns out it's actually both of them. It's also spellcaster based, and a lot of level 2s in this archetype because there are two more ritual monsters that we got to talk about, or I guess two ritual monsters, and there's a link 2 link monster in here as well. The entire thing is destruction based. If you guys don't know, Nifty's was out of Flaming Eternity. That's a DM set, and Nifty's used to summon itself back from the graveyard when it was destroyed by card effect, and it would have like a heavy storm effect, and it was a really powerful card. I think at one point it was limited to 1, but this archetype is kind of new school and old school. So let's start with the first monster. Enlightened of the NEPHTHYS, level 2 wind spellcaster. I told you the whole archetype is spellcaster, and they're all wind as well. Well, maybe the ritual monsters aren't, but the little dudes are all wind. 600 attack, 600 defense. All of the monsters, the level 2s, they all have their first and second effect as hard once per turns, so I don't really need to read that again. You can target one level 4 or lower NEPHTHYS monster in your graveyard, except another copy of Enlightened. Destroy one card in your hand, and if you do, special summon the targeted monster in defense position, but it has its effects negated. So this is basically like a Blackwing Blizzard, but you do have to destroy a card in your hand. This is fine because all of these monsters basically float, or they have some type of ability that kicks in when they are destroyed by card effects. So basically they want you to, use the effect to pop other NEPHTHYS cards in your hand. This could even include the original NEPHTHYS, the OG Phoenix. Second effect is, this is when this card is destroyed. Once per turn during your next standby phase, after this card was destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon this card from your graveyard. So if you happen to pop this card, even using another copy of itself, it will special summon itself out of the grave. I like the first effect, the Blizzard effect, which it's nice because there is a Link 2 monster in this archetype, and the Link 2 is arguably the best card in the archetype. So I like being able to go into it just off of my normal summon. I think that that's pretty good. The second effect, the next monster is Prayer of Matthysse. This is a level 2 wind spellcaster, 0 attack, 2000 defense. During your main phase, you can destroy one card in your hand, and if you do, add one Matthysse monster from your deck to your hand, except another copy of Prayer. So this is basically your Stratos of the archetype. Very important for every ritual deck ever to have searchability, because you not just have to be able to get to your monsters, but then you have to be able to get to your ritual spells to, summon those ritual monsters. So obviously having a Stratos in your deck, pretty good. Second effect is once per turn during your next standby phase, after this card was destroyed by a card effect and sent to your graveyard, you can add one Nifty spell or trap to your hand. So the floating effect, well, when it's destroyed, it gets you a spell, like the ritual spell ideally, and the kind of effect where you pop a card in your hand, that's going to be able to get you your ritual monster. Next up, we have Speaker of Mythos. This is a level 2 wind spellcaster, 300 attack and 1200 defense. Stat lines on these dudes are not very high, but these are level 2 monsters, so keep that in mind. Let's see, you can target one Mythos monster in your graveyard, accept another copy of Speaker, destroy one card in your hand, and if you do, add the targeted card to your hand. Second effect, once per turn during your next standby phase, after this card was destroyed by destroyed by card effect and sent to your graveyard, add one Nifty monster from your graveyard to your hand, accept another copy of Speaker. So I think I'm starting to get it. All of these monsters, they seem like they have similar effects built into them. Like this one is one where if it blows up something in your hand, it gets one of your Nifty's cards or your Nifty's monsters straight from your graveyard. Actually, it gets a Nifty's card, so it can get the ritual spell as well. And then its floating effect, when it's destroyed by a card effect, it will get, basically the same thing. It'll get the monster or the spell or trap that you want. It'll get it back from your graveyard. So basically the same effect is built into this card twice. The next one is Protector of Nifty's. This is a level 2 wind spellcaster, 1400, 200 defense. And it says during your main phase, you can destroy one card in your hand. If you do special summon one level 4 or lower Nifthys monster from your hand, except Protector of Nifthys, so it can't special summon another copy of itself. Once per turn during your next standby phase, after this card was destroyed by card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can destroy one Nifthys monster in your deck except Protector. This one seems kind of shitty. I get what they're going for. If it's blown up, then you can, I guess, pop the OG Phoenix and it'll special summon itself, or, you know, all of these monsters will activate their effects. It's just, I don't know. I mean, it just lets you special summon one from your hand. It's a ritual archetype. Ritual archetypes generally, I mean, you're not going to be spamming the field or anything like that. I understand that there are links in this deck, but this one just seems like the worst of the ones that we've talked about so far. The first ritual monster in the archetype is Avatar of Nithis. It's a level 2, which makes a lot of sense because so far all we've been talking about is level 2 monsters. Win attributes and spellcaster, 1200 attack, 1200 defense. You can ritual summon this card with Rebirth of Nithis. That is the ritual spell of the archetype. First and second effects are hard once per turn. If this card is ritual summoned, you can special summon one Nithis monster from your deck. Also, this card will be destroyed during this turn's end phase. Second effect, if this card is in your graveyard, you can destroy one Nithis card in your hand. And if you do special summon this card from the graveyard, I actually think that this card is really good. First off, when you do ritual summon it, it does give you any Nithis monster that you want straight from your deck, and all the level 2 monsters that we talked about before, they will all be able to activate their effects as well. So it's ways of potentially getting other cards out of your hand. In addition to that, you could link summon with this and you can get it back from the graveyard immediately. So I think that this card is actually quite good. Then we have the big boss monster. This is the level 8. You knew there was going to be a level 8 in this deck because the original Sacred Phoenix of Nithys was level 8. This is the Sacred Blue Phoenix of Nithys. Okay, so as you get more powerful, you turn blue. This is very similar to Dragon Ball Super, I guess. Level 8 Winged Beast monster. It is fire attribute, so this had to mess everything up. We were really good with spellcaster wins, but now we got a fire winged beast. Okay, 3000 attack and 1000 defense, so it's actually stronger than the original Sacred Phoenix of Nithys. You can ritual summon this card with Rebirth. First and second effect are hard once per turns. First effect says, during your main phase, you can activate this effect. Destroy any number of Nithys cards that are in your hand or face up on the field. Then destroy an equal number of monsters your opponent controls. Second effect, once per turn during the next standby phase after this card was destroyed by battle. That's important. This card gets to be able to summon itself off battle, which the rest of the dudes don't. Or card effect, and sent to your graveyard. You can special summon this card from your graveyard. All right, I actually like this card. I don't really know how easy it is to drop because everything we've talked about is fucking level 2, and that's a lot of resources to put into one monster. But the first effect, people are probably not going to realize. Number one, the effect does not target, so if your opponent has Borreload Dragon on the field, you can easily take out their Borreload Dragon. Number two, this card, even if you don't want to use a bunch of resources on your field or in your hand, you can just use this card to pop one of your opponent's cards, and then this guy is going to summon itself back. So I definitely like that, although it was actually told to me that Nithys is a girl. The Phoenix, apparently it's a girl, so maybe this one's a girl as well. Then we have what might actually be the best card in this entire archetype. That is Nithys of Palladium Deity. This is the Link 2 that I was talking about. It's a fire winged beast monster as well. 1200 attack, which makes sense because it has attack equivalent to the level 2 ritual monster. It's a shame that you can't actually use Link monsters for ritual summoning, though. That's why I think there may be a little bit of a conflict, but it's okay. The Link points are let's see, they're bottom center and bottom right. It requires 2 Nithys monsters to summon, and the first effect is the hard once per turn. It says during your main phase, if you control this link summon card, you can activate one of these effects. Add 1 level 8 winged beast monster from your deck to your hand. Then if you do, add 1 ritual spell from your graveyard to your hand. This is nice. This is basically like a preparation of rites because it gives you the big Nithys monster, the one that we just discussed, and it actually gets you one of your ritual spells back from the graveyard. Or I guess you can destroy one Nithys monster this card points to, and if you do, special summon from your graveyard one Nithys monster whose original name is different than the destroyed monster, but the summoned monster has its effects negated. This is also pretty nice because this can get you your big chicken back from the graveyard, and you will still be able to activate one of your small Nithys monster's effects. Generally, I would probably use the search ability because I'm getting my big ritual monster, and at the same time I'm getting my ritual spell back from the graveyard. I think that this card is actually pretty good. I like it a lot. Then we have the Rebirth of Nifty's Ritual spell card. This can be used to ritual summon any of the Nifty's monsters. Luckily, this archetype, all the ritual monsters have Rebirth right on the card, so that means pre-preparation of rites will be super good. They won't have the problem that Vendred had, which is one of the reasons that that deck never took off, in my opinion. Ritual summon one Nifty's ritual monster from your hand by tributing monsters from your hand or on the field whose total level equals or exceeds the level of the monster you ritual summon. Then if you tributed Avatar of Nifty's or Sacred Blue Phoenix of Nifty's for this ritual summon, you can destroy one card on the field. Okay, so if you ritual summon using one of the ritual monsters, then you get to pop something on the field. To me, this ritual spell is actually super underwhelming. I think that it should have destroyed cards on the field whose total level equals what you're trying to summon. Then your monsters would have all had their abilities kick in during your next standby phase. That would have been kind of nice, because think about, like, if you're ritual summoning for the level 8, I mean, what are you getting? Even if you use the level 2 ritual, you get to pop one card on your opponent's side of the field. Like, who the fuck cares about popping one card? It should have been much better than this. Hope of Nifty's. This is a normal spell card. It's a hard once per turn. It says target 2 cards on the field, 1 Nifty's card you control, and 1 card your opponent controls. Destroy them. This is another card that's really underwhelming to me as well. I understand that it's spot removal. It can pop any back row or a monster. Number 1, it does target, so that's kind of shitty. Number 2, okay, like, why is it a hard once per turn? Exactly. I don't get it. It just pops 1 card on your opponent's side of the field. I get it. You know, people are going to say, oh, Cap, it lets your monsters float. That's cool, but you're still using a spell card to begin with, and your monsters don't float until your next standby phase anyways. I have no idea why this is a hard once per turn. I think it should have been 2 cards on your opponent's side of the field, and then 1 Nifty's monster you control. That would have made it kind of like an Icarus attack, but a spell version. And then finally, we have Awakening of Nifty's. This is a continuous trap. The second effect is the hard once per turn. First effect, Nifty's monsters you control gain 300 attack. Why? All the monsters have really low attack values. I don't see how that's relevant at all. Okay, so I think that that's really just, it's kind of bleh to me. Second effect is if this face-up card in the spell or trap zone is destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon 1 Nifty's monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard, but it is destroyed during the end phase. This does get the ritual monsters back, so that's kind of nice. And, you know, people will probably say, Cap G, what about, what about running Mephthys or something like that, which can pop this card? That's kind of cool. I definitely like that. Honestly, I think the monsters in this archetype are fine. I think their spells and traps are so mediocre and shitty. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's just what I'm sensing. I think their ritual spell needed to be better. I like the fact that this archetype seems like it can work really well with a bunch of other archetypes, like potentially True Kings, and I think Fire Kings is like a no-brainer. You can run this with, other spellcasters because of Spellbook of Knowledge and maybe Blue Boy and stuff like that to kind of accelerate the deck and speed it up. Overall, I think the design is interesting. I like the monsters. Again, I just think they need better spells and traps in this deck. I think it sucks too, because they're kind of locked into like their 1 ritual spell, and if they give them another ritual spell, then like pre-preparation of rites won't work with it, which is just unfortunate. But Konami definitely messed up on the ritual spell. Should have been a little bit stronger in my opinion. But you guys let me know what you think of the Nifty's archetype. Maybe you disagree, that's fine. Leave it in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already, and turn on that notification bell for daily videos.